Hey y'all, it's Jen, and I have my February wrap-up video for you. It's been a while since I have done any videos or edited any videos. I've been kind of in a weird mood. I've been really busy. I do have 4 videos to edit, and I'm recording a few tonight to get edited, so I will get those up and running. But I have decided not to do a March TBR video just because I'm in a weird mood with my reading. I've got 3 books that I'm reading for reading challenges for this current month of March, so I'll have those. But the rest of the books, I'm just picking them up as I go, whatever I feel like reading. I had a whole list that I was like, I'm going to read these this month. But I decided not to get that serious about it. It's already the 11th. I've got 3 audiobooks that I have that just came available from my library that I'm going to work on, and then next week is spring break for us, and since I work in a school, I get the whole week off, and I do plan on doing a lot of reading that week just to relax and reset myself, and I just don't know what I'm in the mood to pick up. So with that said, I will have a March wrap-up video. Before I started my February wrap-up video, I wanted to let you know that there would not be a March TBR. Let's get into the books that I read in February. My 5-star read for the month was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I think most everybody has heard of this book. It is definitely the book that will break your heart. It just rips it out and stomps on it and tears it to shreds, but you want everybody else in the world to read it as well. So if you haven't read this book, it's quick. 205 pages is all it is, and a lot of, in this edition anyway, you've got a lot of illustrations. So the book is haunting. The illustrations that go with it are haunting. But it is such a moving story, and it deals so well with the subject matter and how horrible and tragic it is. So if you haven't read it, it was a 5-star read for me, and I highly recommend it to everybody. Next is my 4.5-star read for the month, and that was The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. It just barely squeaked by to not being a 5-star read. I do have a review of this one coming up. I just have to edit it. But I can't wait to continue it. I really fell in love with these characters. It is based on 1001 Nights, and even though I've never read the original 1001 Nights, I really love the Aladdin tale and all of that, and I thought this one did a wonderful job with that. Both of my 3.5-star reads for this month were audiobooks. I first read Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and I really enjoyed it. It was a 3.5-star read. It obviously had some problems with it that I just really couldn't get past. It did a great job of showing how people of different ethnicities can, especially mixed races, can have a hard time fitting into, especially an all-white community, and kind of how they're treated and ostracized. The next 3.5-star read for me was Shadow Shaper by Danielle Jose Older, and I really enjoyed this book. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the rest of the series, but it's a sci-fi fantasy that has a Latino main character, she may be mixed as well, but it was a great story set in New York. The concept was really great, kind of an urban fantasy sci-fi type of feel to it. And I skipped my 4-star reads. I do have 2 4-star reads that were both also audiobooks. The first one was Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet by Jamie Ford. I originally picked this up as to complete a book set in a hotel prompt for the Pop Sugar Challenge, but it doesn't fit that prompt. Even though the hotel does play a prominent role in the story, it's not set in the hotel, and that's not what the story is about at all. It is about the Japanese concentration camps. Around it follows a Chinese American boy who falls in love with a Japanese American girl, and kind of their story from the year that they met, that she gets sent off to the concentration camp and they kind of keep in touch, and then after a year or so they lose touch and grow apart and then end up finding each other in the end, and what that life was like back then, and it's really told from the child's perspectives. My next 4-star read was Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell, and that was obviously a reread. It was one of my favorite books when I was a child. I did one of those cute little dioramas in 5th grade, won some awards for it, and got a free book from the book fair. I wanted to revisit it, see what my feelings were. It also fit a prompt challenge, so that helps a lot. But I still really loved it, and I didn't realize that it was part of a series, and I may actually pick up the second book in that series to see where the story continues. Next, since I've already done my 3.5-star reads, let's move on to the 3-star reads. One of those was a Kindle book, and that was Crossroads by Riley Hart. I really enjoyed this book. If we based it strictly on enjoyment level, it would be a 5-star read. It is a cheesy romance. Features 2 male lead characters, and they fall in love. As far as content of the story itself and the book, and whether it meets all those true criteria and believability and all that, it's probably not a book that is going to be a good read for someone who is looking for a realistic romance between 2 males. That part of it wasn't real believable. These guys both had heterosexual loves and lived heterosexual lives until they met each other, and then they were just drawn together and couldn't stand it, and it took them a long time to really come to terms with having a relationship with each other. And so I didn't really feel that it was extremely realistic, but I still really enjoyed the story. My next 3-star read was an audiobook, Tricky 22 by Janet Ivanovich. It's number 22 in the Stephanie Plum series. That is a series I'm trying to finish up this year. It was available on audiobook. I was in need of an audiobook, and that's the one I chose. It's a 3-star read. It's predictable. If you've read any of the Stephanie Plum books, you know the story, you know kind of how things are going to go, but it's always enjoyable. It's always got some funny parts, and it always wraps up really nicely in the end. So 23 is out. That'll probably be one of my next reads in the next couple of months, because I'm trying to catch up completely on that series. But again, 3-star read, very predictable. My final book of the month is actually a DNF book, Never Again So Close by Claudia Serrano. This was actually a Kindle First book that I picked up a couple of months ago, and I got through maybe a couple chapters. I couldn't keep up with the changing storyline and changing perspective. It jumped around from present day to past, and it was real confusing. It didn't flow well, and I wasn't really enjoying the story whatsoever, and I just said, I can't do this. And so I didn't. That wraps up my February reads for the month. I did read a lot of good books, and if you have read any of these, I would like to hear your take on it. If you plan on reading any of these, please let me know below as well. Until next month, I'll talk to you later. Bye.